What is happening? My name is Matt Richards, and I'm here with the latest installment of NYC Let's Talk COVID. We got my man, Dr. Varma, the Senior Advisor for Public Health over at the Office of the Mayor. Last time, he put us on the game. This time, he's here to discuss with us everything we want to know about the coronavirus vaccine. That's right, but before the doc gives us a scoop, let's talk about this week's COVID Need to Know. Vaccine distribution in New York has begun. Now, that doesn't mean that all of us can go run around and get it, but eligible New Yorkers can start scheduling appointments to receive their vaccine in all 5 boroughs. Soon, we'll all be able to breathe all over each other again on the subway, just like the good old days. Now, of course, we've all heard about the new COVID variant and that it's here among us, but don't panic. We do not want to repeat of last March, hoarding toilet paper, looking at your neighbors like they're zombies. It was terrifying. Yes, this new mutation is more transmittable, but it's not more deadly. Okay? It's just more British. You know what to do. Keep calm, put your mask on, and we'll get through this. Isn't that right, Dr. Varma? Now let's go back to our expert, Dr. J. Varma. Dr. J, what's up, man?
Hi, it's good to see you.
Good to see you again. How you been?
I've been doing okay. Yeah, it's winter I think is always challenging for everybody, but we're doing the best that we can.
Maintaining. That's what I like to hear, man. I got some questions for you.
All right, I'm ready to answer them.
Well, let's get into it. How can I trust a vaccine that was developed so quickly? Were there any corners cut?
Yeah, no, I think this has been a concern that people have had. I think the name, unfortunately, warp speed, made people think that warp speed also means that people were clumsy or they were trying to cut corners in the process. And I think it's important to reassure people about how what happened. You, the taxpayers out there, put in a ton of money. The federal government put in tons of money to basically say, look, if we pay even more than we would under normal circumstances, can we do the normal things that we would do to have a vaccine tested and approved over a few years? Can we do it all within a year? And so that's what happened. And so people like myself and others have looked very carefully at all the steps that were taken, and we feel really confident that even though this was done quickly, it was done correctly. You know, what's interesting is that the technology to make this vaccine already existed. And it's actually something that scientists have been working on for over 20 years. So they pretty much already had the recipe for how to do this. And all they needed to do was to kind of swap in the genetic code, what we call like the DNA fragments that code for this virus, into the kind of structure that they had already built for other similar viruses before.
How many people has the vaccine been tested on?
So the original studies for these 2 vaccines that are currently authorized, there was over 30,000 people that got the actual vaccine, and then they were compared to a little over 30,000 people who didn't get the vaccine. So those
the placebo vaccine.
Yes, exactly. And those are the original studies that were done that let the FDA authorize these for use. So we know, based on the data, not just from the studies that were done and that were published, but from the over 11 million people that have gotten this vaccine, how safe it is. The biggest challenge that we face right now is that the supply doesn't keep up with our demand. Again, because this was a nationwide effort and the federal government took control of this process. The good part about that was they could put lots of money up front and make lots of bets. I have to say, a lot of us who work in this field, we did not think that this first round of vaccines would be as effective as they've shown to be. We were really scared. There's a lot of infections out there that we still don't have vaccines for.
That leads me to my next question. This is actually a question from the street. Let's go to the street. What does New York want to know?
My question is why the vaccine for COVID-19 got developed so quickly while there is no vaccine for HIV?
Yeah, well, HIV is one of the most dangerous viruses we as humans have ever faced. And that's the reason why we haven't been able to develop a vaccine for HIV. One of the really tricky things that HIV does is it mutates really, really fast in your body, and it has lots of different sneaky ways of evading your body's immune system. It has ways of hiding out in tissues so that your body's immune system, which is kind of like your security force inside your body, it has ways of hiding from it that are very unique. And that's one of the reasons why HIV has caused so much devastation, not just here in New York, but really all over the world. Now, this virus is actually not quite as dangerous when it comes down to it that way. This virus doesn't change, or what we call mutate, quite as fast, and we understand how it hurts the body a lot better than we understood HIV when it first came out. So HIV is still very tricky. This virus isn't very good, but it's a little bit easier to fight.
I like that. Let's kick this thing in the nethers. Question, why do I need 2 shots?
So, this is for the 2 vaccines that are currently available right now. Some of the vaccines that are being studied, they're only going to require 1 as far as we know. The 2 vaccines that have been developed, what we know about your body's immune system is that it fights off things better when it's trained, okay? If you give that first shot, your body gets ready and says, I see that there's a possible intruder that might come attack me in the future. I'm going to start making the antibodies and the other things in my body to fight that off if I ever see the intruder. Now, if you give it a second dose, it says, wait, that's really what this intruder looks like, and it's going to produce even more of those antibodies and actually remember that infection even better, so that if you ever do face the infection, it's going to fight it off better. So we call that a prime and boost strategy. We kind of prime you, we get you ready, and then we boost your immune system.
I got another question. Are there known side effects? I mean, I know it's fairly new. I got stuff older than the vaccine in my freezer. But are there any known side effects or long-term effects?
Yeah, so we don't know anything about long-term effects because, obviously we're just trying to follow people out. We do have a pretty good idea about long-term effects from the COVID infection, and those can be pretty bad, as we talked about. People can get tired and have headaches and just feel run down for a long time if you get the infection. What we know about the vaccine is the vaccine is not the virus. The vaccine is just like little genetic code that kind of tells your body, watch out for something that looks like this. Something's going to look like this virus. And the side effects that we know about are the ones that are really pretty common with most vaccines. So the first thing, of course, is somebody is putting a needle into your arm, usually in your upper shoulder area. So it hurts, and your arm may feel a little bit sore afterwards. So pretty much everybody gets that as a side effect. Now, a certain percentage of people, anywhere from 10 to 30% of people, may also get symptoms like they feel ill. And that's basically a sign that your immune system is fighting off and trying to get strong and train. So again, think about like training or practicing. If you go to practice and you play really hard, you're going to be tired the next day. You go to practice the next time, you're going to be even more tired. So some of the side effects that people get are kind of like being sick with an illness. So you get a little bit of a fever, you can have a headache, you can feel achy in your body. If you get those side effects, they usually start about a day after the injection, and they may last up to 2 or 3 days after that. They also tend to be a little bit more common after the second dose than after the first dose. Again, same idea. If you go to practice today and then you practice again 2 days later, you're going to probably be even more tired after the second practice. So that's what we know about as the main side effects. Now, there is people may have heard about and read about the possibility of getting a severe allergic reaction. And I want to talk about this because it's gotten a lot of news, so people may not realize it, but it's really not that common. It only occurs about 1 in 100,000 times. And if you do get an allergic reaction, it's something that will start almost immediately, and everybody at that clinic is prepared to handle it because it's something that you can treat very quickly with an injection of another medicine that works really well.
What about kids? When will we know if the vaccine is safe for them? Do you think they'll also need 2 doses like adults, or?
So what we know right now is that one of the vaccines was authorized for people 16 and above, and the other one was authorized for people 18 and above. And that's simply because that's what the companies chose to use for enrolling people in these studies. They started with people at those ages. So there is work going on right now to do similar studies in people that are younger. There are studies going on right now looking at basically teenagers, 12 above the age of 12, and so hopefully we'll get results from those studies pretty soon. Now, the vaccine hasn't yet been studied in people under the age of 12. So we really don't know what these vaccines will be like in that population. The good news, of course, is that for most kids who get infected, they either have no symptoms at all or they have very mild symptoms. So that's the good news. But in the future, obviously, I think this is something that needs to be worked on, and we are in the public health community are really hoping that, sometime in the next year, we'll have good data to say, whether or not we should vaccinate kids and what the best vaccines are for them.
Sweet. I got a question for you from a real New Yorker out on the street.
My question is, I'm looking to have a child in the near future and just wanting to know if there's any information about whether the vaccine will affect my chances of being able to conceive and carry a baby to full term. And then ultimately, once my baby is born, will that baby have any issues as a result of me getting the vaccine?
The way this vaccine works should have no impact whatsoever on your pregnancy status because of the way it's designed. It's a little bit of a genetic code, like a little message in a bottle that goes into your cells in your arm. It shouldn't cause any complications associated with pregnancy. Now, in the studies that were done, they specifically didn't include pregnant women because, of course, they didn't know this information for sure. So, but during the study, about 20 women or so ended up actually getting pregnant. So they actually got the vaccine while they were pregnant, and all of them had good outcomes. And we also know right now from the pregnant women that have gotten the vaccine afterwards so far that everything has gone very well. And we also know that the COVID infection, the virus itself, can cause complications in women who are pregnant, and some percentage of women will have what we call premature delivery, or the baby will come too early if they get the infection. So right now the recommendation is that women who are pregnant, it is safe to receive the vaccine, but if they have questions or concerns, they should really discuss them very carefully with their doctor before they make that decision.
I got another one. Okay, this is a rumor.
Y algo falso que tú has oído que la gente hablen como un chisme de coronavirus que tú encuentres bien molestoso.
Están diciendo que eso de que un chip que le van a poner en la vacuna.
Ah, un chip en la vacuna, sí, eso es lo que la gente está diciendo, sí.
No,
What do you say to people that think there's a microchip in the vaccine?
All I can say to people is that this is not a conspiracy. This is like people working flat out, doing the best they possibly can so that we can get out of this world where we're all wearing masks and staying away from each other and not having parties, to the world that we all want to be in, which is the world we had before this, where we're all acting like regular humans and enjoying our lives the way we want to. So I can reassure you that I know a lot of people who are doing the work to develop these vaccines, and these are people who their only interest is getting back to life the same way all of us want to.
Thank you so much, Dr. J.
Great, thank you. It's been great talking to you, and I guess the main message I want to give to people is that there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and that light involves all of us. First of all, if it's not your turn to get the vaccine, it means really kind of just sticking through, even though it's really hard, sticking through with all those things we know are important, wearing a mask, keeping your distance, washing your hands, getting tested, and then when your turn comes up to get the vaccine, we want you to get that, because that is the path to parties.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Varma. I appreciate you and everything you're doing out there to keep New Yorkers safe.
Great, thank you very much for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Peace. Thank you so much for joining us, New York. Thank you to Dr. Varma and our correspondents, and thank you for watching. Join us next time to learn more about all that's going on from New York's best experts. And if you got a question, let us know. Text me personally. I'll get back to you. No, I won't. I'm Matt Richards, and you've been watching NYC Let's Talk COVID.